It's the middle of the night. You are ripped from a deep sleep by a searing, burning pain in your big toe. It feels hot, swollen, and so exquisitely tender that even the weight of a single bedsheet feels like absolute torture. This is the agonizing reality of a gout attack. You go to the doctor and you are told the answer is simple. Your uric acid is too high and you will likely need to take this pill for the rest of your life. But what if that is not the whole story? What if high uric acid is only one piece of a three-part puzzle? And what if the other two hidden pieces are the real reason your gout keeps coming back, no matter how much medication you take? Today we're going to reveal the complete three-pillar picture of what truly causes gout and show you how you can begin to address all three of those root causes naturally with simple, powerful foods. Welcome back to Healthier Daily, the channel where we give you the simple, science-backed truths to live a stronger and more independent life after 60. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Carter. And to guide us through this very misunderstood condition, we are joined by a physician who has spent his life teaching his patients to look for the deep root causes of their illness. It is our great honor to welcome Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara.
Thank you for having me, Ben. The pain of a gout attack is a very real and very terrible fire in the body, but we must understand how a fire starts. High uric acid is the fuel for the fire, yes. But for a fire to truly begin, you also need a spark, and you need the right dry environment for it to catch. To put out the fire of gout for good, we must address all three of these things.
And that is exactly what our guide is all about today. We are going to move beyond just talking about uric acid. In this detailed guide, Dr. Hinohara will walk us through his three-pillar gout protocol. It is a complete system for understanding and addressing this painful condition. We will explore Pillar 1, how to balance uric acid, Pillar 2, how to prevent the crystals from forming, and Pillar 3, how to calm the immune system's overreaction. It is a true blessing to have this deeper, more complete understanding of how our bodies work so we can become active partners in our own healing. If you are ready to understand the true root cause of your gout and learn how to fight back, please type the number 1 in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe to our channel. It's completely free, and this is a truly empowering conversation. Okay, doctor, let's get right into your three-pillar gout protocol. As you so wisely said, a gout attack is like a fire. So let's start with the very first and most important part of that fire, the fuel. Let's talk about Pillar 1, balancing uric acid.
Yes, this is the first and the most well-known part of the puzzle. Uric acid is the fuel for the fire. But most people have been given the wrong, or at least an incomplete story about where this fuel actually comes from in the modern diet. I had a patient, a gentleman in his 50s. He was a big man who loved to eat, and he was suffering from terrible, frequent, and very painful gout attacks. His family doctor had told him the same thing that almost everyone with gout is told: gout is caused by eating too much red meat. You must stop eating red meat. So he did. He was a very disciplined patient. He completely cut out all red meat from his diet. He stopped eating steaks and hamburgers, but the gout attacks did not stop. In fact, he told me that they seemed to be getting even worse. He was very frustrated and very confused. He was doing exactly what his doctor told him to do, but he was not getting better. We sat down together, and we looked very closely at his entire diet, not just the meat. And we found the real culprit. He was not eating red meat, but he was drinking 2 or 3 large glasses of sweetened iced tea and soda every single day. He thought that these were harmless, but the huge amount of high fructose corn syrup that was in these drinks was the primary source of the fuel for his gout. For him, it was not the meat. It was the sugar.
That is such a critical story because it highlights the biggest misconception about gout in the modern world. While it is true that purines, which are found in some meats and seafood, can contribute to uric acid for many people in America today, the real villain is fructose. Let's explain the science of this because it is so important. When you eat regular glucose, like from a potato, your body can use that sugar for energy in all of your cells. But fructose is very different. It is metabolized almost exclusively in your liver. This intense process of metabolizing a large amount of fructose in the liver generates a huge amount of uric acid as a direct byproduct. So a diet that is high in fructose, especially from sugary drinks, fruit juices, and ultra-processed foods that contain high fructose corn syrup, is like pouring gasoline on the fire of high uric acid. For many people, the sugar is a much bigger problem than the steak.
So the most important first step for this pillar is to cut out all sugary drinks.
Absolutely. Now, doctor, let's talk about the healing foods. What are the specific foods that have been shown in scientific studies to actually help the body to lower its uric acid levels?
There are 4 main foods or food groups that have been shown to be very helpful for this. They are cherries, natural dairy products foods that are rich in complex vitamin C, and simple black coffee.
Let's start with cherries. They are very famous for helping with gout.
Yes, the beautiful deep red color of the cherry comes from natural plant compounds called anthocyanins. These compounds are very powerfully anti-inflammatory, but they have also been shown in many studies to help the kidneys to excrete or to flush out uric acid from the body more efficiently.
So they are helping the body to remove the excess fuel. And it's very important for our viewers to note, as you said in your notes, that this is fresh or frozen cherries, not the sugary cherry pie filling or cherry jams.
That is correct. It must be the real whole fruit. The second food group is natural dairy. This often surprises people, but natural unsweetened dairy products like milk and plain yogurt have also been shown in studies to have what we call a uricosuric effect, which is a scientific way of saying that they also help the body to flush out excess uric acid.
And our third is complex vitamin C. How does that help?
A good and consistent intake of vitamin C from whole foods also helps the kidneys to excrete uric acid. But it is very important, as the source text notes, to get this vitamin C from your food from things like bell peppers, broccoli, and kiwi, not just from a synthetic isolated pill. The body responds best to the complete package from nature.
And finally, Dr. Coffee. This will be great news for many of our viewers.
Yes. Regular consumption of simple black coffee without sugar has also been linked in many large scientific studies to a lower risk of developing gout. The natural compounds in the coffee appear to help the body to both reduce the production of uric acid and to increase its excretion.
It is a wonderful example of how these simple, blessed foods from nature can help to bring our bodies back into a healthy and a harmonious balance. So pillar 1 is all about reducing the fuel for the fire by lowering our body's levels of uric acid, and we've learned that for many people, fructose from sugary drinks is a much bigger culprit than red meat. But doctor, you said in the beginning that having the fuel is not enough to actually start a fire. You also need a spark and the right environment. This brings us to the second and very often overlooked pillar of your protocol, which is pillar 2, preventing the crystals from actually forming.
Yes, this is the part of the gout story that most people and even many doctors never hear. You can have high levels of uric acid circulating in your blood for many, many years and never have a single gout attack. For the painful attack to happen, that uric acid, which is dissolved in your blood, must first turn from a harmless liquid substance into sharp, painful needle, like crystals, inside your joint. So our second goal is to create an internal environment in the body where it is very, very difficult for these crystals to be able to form. The triggers for this crystal formation are often related to different kinds of stress on the body. I had a patient, a man in his 60s, who loved to travel with his wife. He told me that his painful gout attacks would almost always happen when he was on vacation. He was not eating more red meat on vacation. In fact, he was often eating much less. The real trigger we discovered was the long airplane flight to get to his destination, which is a very dehydrating environment, combined with the physical stress of walking much more than usual, often on a previously injured ankle. This combination of dehydration and physical stress to a vulnerable joint was the spark that was lighting the fire of his gout.
That is a perfect story because it highlights the key factors that allow these crystals to form. Let's talk about the science of that favorable joint environment that you mentioned in your notes because it's so important. Uric acid crystals absolutely love to form in conditions inside the body that are cold and acidic. Let's start with temperature. This is the primary reason why the very first gout attack for about 75% of people happens in the joint of the big toe. Your big toe is the joint that is the farthest from the warm core of your heart, and it is often the coldest part of your entire body. Just like how sugar will crystallize out of water more easily when it's cold, the low temperature in your toe joint makes it much, much easier for the uric acid to precipitate out of your blood and form those sharp, painful crystals. The second factor is an acidic pH. Physical stress trauma or a previous injury to a joint can create a more acidic local environment within that joint. And this acidity also encourages the crystals to form. This is why your patient's old ankle injury was a consistent trigger point for his attacks. And finally, as you said, doctor dehydration is a huge trigger. When you are dehydrated, the fluid portion of your blood decreases. This makes the uric acid that is already in your blood much more concentrated. And just like when you are making sugar crystals in a high school science experiment, this high concentration of uric acid makes it much, much more likely to crystallize out into your joints.
So to prevent the crystals from forming, we must keep the body warm. We must keep it alkaline, and we must keep it well hydrated.
Exactly. So, doctor, what are the specific foods and the daily habits that help us to create this unfavorable environment for crystals?
The foods and habits are very simple and very logical. To create a more alkaline environment in the body, we must eat plenty of green vegetables. We should also eat foods that are rich in the mineral potassium, like the wonderful avocado. And of course, we must stay very well hydrated with clean, filtered water.
Let's talk about the green vegetables. How do they help with the body's pH balance?
Green vegetables like spinach, kale, and broccoli are very rich in what we call alkaline-forming minerals like calcium and magnesium. When you eat these foods, they have a net alkalinizing effect on your body's pH. This makes it a much less friendly and a much more difficult environment for those acidic uric acid crystals to be able to form.
And what about the avocado? How does that help?
Avocado is one of the richest natural sources of potassium. Potassium is a very important electrolyte and mineral that helps your kidneys to function properly and to help maintain a healthy and stable pH balance in your blood.
And of course, we cannot overstate the importance of water. Staying well hydrated is absolutely critical to keep that uric acid safely diluted in your blood so that it doesn't crystallize. And the source text for our video also mentions pumpkin seeds and almonds. How do they fit into this pillar?
These are also wonderful foods that are rich in those same alkaline minerals, especially magnesium. And magnesium works as a beautiful partner with potassium to support healthy kidney function and to maintain a balanced and calm internal environment. It is a wonderful example of how these simple, blessed gifts from the earth, our greens, our fruits, and our seeds, all work together in harmony to create a calm and a balanced internal state in the bodies we've been given. This is all so hopeful. It shows how much control we have over this process. We love sharing this kind of deep wisdom with our global community. To help us see our global community, please let us know what city, state, or country you are watching from. We love hearing from all of you.
So Pillar 1 is all about reducing the fuel for the fire by lowering our body's levels of uric acid. And Pillar 2 is all about preventing the spark by creating an internal environment where it is very difficult for those painful crystals to form. But Doctor, you said at the beginning that there is a third and perhaps the most important and most overlooked piece of this entire puzzle. Even if some crystals do form in the joint, it is the body's reaction to them that causes the agonizing hot red swollen pain of a gout attack. This brings us to our final and most profound pillar, Pillar 3, calming the immune system's response.
Yes, this is the part of the story that is almost always completely ignored in conventional medicine. The crystals themselves are just the trigger. They are like a splinter in your skin. The extreme hot red swollen pain of a gout attack is caused by your own immune system launching a massive and a very violent attack on those crystals. If we can teach the immune system to be calmer, more balanced, and less reactive, we can dramatically reduce the severity and the pain of the attacks. And the health of our immune system, as we now know, begins in our gut. I had a patient, a man in his 50s. He not only had very frequent and severe gout attacks, but he also suffered from a terrible case of irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. His digestion was a complete mess. His gout attacks were not just frequent. They were incredibly severe with extreme swelling and pain that would last for weeks. We focused almost all of our healing attention on his gut. I taught him how to make simple traditional fermented foods at home like sauerkraut and kimchi. As his gut health slowly began to improve over the course of several months, he was amazed to find that the severity of his gout attacks also lessened. He told me they were less frequent, yes, but more importantly, when they did happen, they were much less swollen and much, much less painful. By calming the fire in his gut, we were calming the fire in his joints.
That is a perfect story because it so powerfully demonstrates the cutting-edge science of the gut-joint axis. Over 70% of your entire immune system is located in and around the lining of your gut. The health of your gut microbiome, the trillions of good and friendly bacteria that live there, is what trains your immune system from the day you are born on how to respond appropriately to the world. An unhealthy gut, a condition that doctors often call dysbiosis, can lead to a confused, an overactive, and a hyperinflammatory immune system. You can think of it like an army that is very poorly trained. It is jumpy, it is nervous, and it overreacts to every small and perceived threat. When this untrained army sees the uric acid crystals in your joint, it launches a full-scale, massive assault with a huge flood of inflammatory chemicals. And this is what causes the extreme pain and the tissue damage of a gout flare-up. A healthy gut, on the other hand, trains your immune system to be like a calm, professional, and very well-trained peacekeeping force. It sees the crystals, it addresses them, but it does so without creating a massive, painful war in your joint. So healing the gut is the key to training our immune system. What are the specific foods that help us to create a calmer and a more balanced immune response?
The foods that help us to do this are all wonderful traditional healing foods. First, as we have discussed in other videos, are the anti-inflammatory herbs and spices like fresh turmeric, ginger, and garlic. Second, are the very fermented foods that I gave to my patient like traditional kimchi tempeh and miso soup. And third are the foods that are rich in the key immune-supporting minerals zinc and selenium, like fresh oysters and whole eggs. And finally, we must include the fatty ocean fish for their powerful omega-3 fats.
So the herbs like turmeric and ginger are sending a direct calm-down signal to the immune cells. The probiotics and the beneficial acids in the fermented foods are helping to rebuild a healthy gut environment that trains the immune system for the long term. The zinc and selenium from the oysters and eggs are providing the critical minerals that the immune system needs to function properly. And the omega-3 fats from the fatty fish are one of the most powerful tools of all for reducing that chronic low-grade inflammation throughout the entire body. And doctor, it is not just about the food, is it? The source text for our video also mentions that chronic stress can also trigger this dangerous immune overreaction.
Yes. Chronic mental and emotional stress keeps your body's entire immune system in a constant state of high alert. It is like that army is always waiting for a battle. This is why practicing simple stress reduction techniques like the gentle diaphragmatic breathing exercises or the quiet, mindful walks in nature that we have discussed in our other videos is also a very powerful and a very important medicine for a person who is struggling with gout.
It is a beautiful example of how our physical health, our emotional peace, and the nourishment that we receive are all part of one blessed, interconnected system of well-being. Doctor, this has been a truly incredible and revolutionary guide to understanding gout. You have taken a condition that feels very confusing and frightening, and you have broken it down into a clear, understandable, and manageable 3-pillar protocol. You've taught us to balance uric acid to prevent crystal formation and to calm the immune system. This is a powerful, holistic approach to senior health. By looking beyond just the symptom of high uric acid and addressing all 3 of these root causes, our viewers can finally create a comprehensive plan to fight back against their gout. This knowledge is so empowering, and it is a true cornerstone of a proactive senior health strategy. It gives so much hope to people who were told that a lifetime of medication was their only option. Now, doctor, before you give us your final thoughts to bring all of this incredible wisdom together and make it truly actionable, can you please paint a picture for us? What does a day in the life of a person who is successfully following this 3-pillar protocol actually look like?
That is a very important question. It is about turning this knowledge into a simple, peaceful, and delicious daily rhythm. A person following this path would start their morning with a focus on Pillar 1 balancing uric acid. They would wake up and, of course, hydrate with a large glass of water. Then, instead of a sugary breakfast, they might enjoy a cup of simple black coffee, which we know helps the body excrete uric acid. With that, they could have a bowl of natural unsweetened yogurt topped with fresh cherries. The dairy and the cherries both work to gently lower uric acid levels. They are starting their day with a clear anti-gout purpose. For their lunch, they would focus on Pillar 2 preventing crystal formation. They might have a very large and beautiful green salad. The abundance of leafy greens like spinach and kale helps to create a more alkaline environment in their body, which makes it very difficult for those acidic uric acid crystals to form. On that salad, they could add some creamy avocado slices and a sprinkle of pumpkin seeds. This provides the potassium and magnesium that support healthy kidney function and a balanced internal pH. They are creating an environment where gout cannot thrive. And for their evening meal, they would focus on pillar 3, calming the immune system. They might have a beautiful piece of wild-caught salmon, which is rich in the anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats. And they would cook that salmon with the powerful anti-inflammatory herbs we discussed, like fresh turmeric and ginger. This meal is a direct message to their immune system, telling it to be calm and peaceful. And of course, throughout this entire day, they are avoiding the sugary drinks and the fructose that we know is the primary fuel for high uric acid.
That is a perfect and a very delicious daily plan. It shows how this can become a lifestyle of nourishment, not a diet of deprivation. Now, doctor, let's use the rest of our time to address some common myths or pitfalls that can derail a person's progress. Let's call this the gout myth busting section. Myth number 1. I know you mentioned alcohol, but is beer really worse than other types of alcohol for a person with gout?
Yes, unfortunately, it is. While all alcohol can be problematic, beer is a double threat. It not only dehydrates the body, but the brewer's yeast used to make it is extremely high in purines, which can directly raise your uric acid levels. For a person prone to gout, beer is often the most dangerous choice.
Okay, that is a very clear answer. Myth number 2, I have gout and I am overweight. Should I go on a fast or a crash diet to lose weight quickly?
No, absolutely not. This is a very dangerous mistake. While gradual healthy weight loss is very beneficial for gout, a rapid crash diet or a prolonged fast can cause your body to break down its own cells very quickly. This process releases a large amount of purines into your bloodstream, which can actually trigger one of the most severe gout attacks of your life. All changes must be gentle and gradual.
And our final myth, doctor. Does this mean I have to become a vegetarian and give up all meat forever?
Not necessarily. The wisdom is in moderation and in choosing wisely. As we've learned, for many people, the sugar is a much bigger problem than the meat. A small 3 to 4 ounce portion of clean, unprocessed red meat once or twice a week is perfectly fine for most people. The real danger is in the large portions and in the highly processed meats like sausages and smoked beef, which are full of purines and inflammatory additives.
I want to leave you with this final thought. Gout is not a life sentence of medication. It is a message from your body that the entire system is out of balance. Please listen to the message. Address all 3 pillars, the fuel, the spark, and the environment, and you can reclaim your health and your comfort. That is a beautiful message of hope, doctor. It's about being a good steward of our health by looking deeper than the symptoms to understand the root causes and using the blessed foods of the earth to help our bodies restore their natural balance. And of course, the wisest first step is always to speak with your personal doctor or a rheumatologist before making any significant changes to your diet, especially if you have existing health conditions. Please remember that our conversation today is for educational purposes. If you found this guide empowering and it gave you a new sense of hope, please give this video a like so that others can find this vital information. And be sure to share it with a friend or family member who might be struggling with the painful cycle of gout. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. It is completely free and it ensures you will not miss our next deep dive into your health. And for our community discussion today, which of the 3 pillars, balancing uric acid, preventing crystals, or calming the immune system, do you think is the most important one for you to focus on? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for being with us. Be well.